You see, it's really hard for a guy. I mean, a lot of people think that, a lot of people say, look, guys don't go and get help. They don't go and seek help. They don't go and see a psychologist. They don't go and see somebody else. And blah, blah, blah. Well, let me tell you from my personal experience, what happened for me was that when I went through a breakdown and I got to the stage where I couldn't even make a cup of coffee. I'd never had it together enough to even feed myself. So how the hell was I going to feed a whole family? And somebody convinced me that there was something wrong with me. And they said to me that I needed to go and see a psychologist. I didn't believe them. I just thought that I wasn't performing well enough. I didn't have my shit together. I wasn't thinking properly. I just needed to get my act together and just bloody well do it, you know. And so I ended up following their advice and or threat, to be honest. They said they were going to get me committed if I didn't go down to the psych ward on my own. They were going to get the police and they were going to commit me, and that sort of freaked me out a bit. So I walked into the psych hospital in Bundaberg, and I'll never forget it. And I was as nervous as anything you can imagine. You have no idea how terrified I was. And I walked into the psych ward, and this young girl came out, and she was sort of like 30 odd, and I'm sort of mid 40s, and this young girl comes out, and she said, "Oh, hi, hello, how are you? And can I help you?" And I looked at her, and I just thought, no, there ain't no way you can help me, young girl. You know, you really haven't had the life experience, and you haven't been through what I've been through. And anyway, so she said, well, you need to do a psych test. And so I sat down and I did the psych test, and it took me 4 hours to do the psych test. And so I did the test, and I did all that, left, and came back the next week. And I said, well, how'd I go? And she said, well, you got the highest marks that I've ever seen, ever. Even higher marks than some of the case studies that we researched when I was doing my studies at university. And so you got an enormous, you're much higher than what we've ever even studied. And so I thought to myself, okay, well, I'm not so bad after all. I told you I was okay. And she said, no, I'm sorry. She said, you should have got a low mark. If you were okay, if you were psychologically okay, you would have got a low mark in that exam. And I got the highest mark. And she said, do you realise that you went to sleep halfway through doing that test? I came into the room to see how you were going, and you were asleep. She said it took you 4 hours to do that test. And it normally takes people an hour and a half. She said, I couldn't wake you up. That's when I realised that there was something drastically wrong with my thinking process, or something drastically wrong with me somewhere down the track. And that's when I realised that, that's when I realised that there was something terribly wrong. And I didn't know what to do about it. And so the girl was really good. She gave me some exercises to do. She gave me some psychological things to follow up, which I did. And they were incredibly helpful. And they did help me. They were some of the things that really did help me to get through it. And there's no doubt about that. I'm not saying that psychology is useless. Not at all. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that at all. It plays a very big part in it. And so, yes, I did get help. So to answer the question is, why do men not go and get help and seek help from people? And one of the reasons is because of the fear. If you go and own up to the fact that there's something wrong with you, and you go and seek psychological help from somewhere, is your boss then going to say, well, okay, man, I agree there, yeah, okay, so you're screwed up, there's something wrong with it. So I'm a little bit reluctant to give you this sort of really important job here, because, you know, you might get halfway through it and find that you have a relapse or you have a problem and you can't deal with the issue, and all of a sudden, you know, I'm stuck with the problem now. You know, you're halfway through the job and you can't finish it. So maybe I should give that job to somebody else to start with in the first place. and that's what goes through a guy's mind, is that if he admits to the fact that there's something wrong with him, then his management or his boss or his workplace mates are going to say to him, well, look, it's okay not to be okay, mate. Yeah, not a problem. But just get out of the way and let me get on with the job and I'll do it. And so what happens to the bloke? The bloke then sits there and says, well, I'm friggin' useless. Yeah, okay. I thought I was pretty useless. Yeah, okay. Well, thanks for telling me and thanks for making sure that I know that everybody else knows and thinks that I'm useless too. So, yeah, what's the point? What's the point of keeping going? Everybody knows that I'm bloody useless. Even my boss knows, my workmates know, my missus knows, my kids know. So what the hell? I may as well just bloody well get out of the way and let somebody else get on with it. And so that's one of the biggest issues in my mind. That's, I mean, I could be wrong here, but I'm just thinking that in my mind and in my experience, that was the point where I got to, where I thought, well, I'm better off out of here. I'm better off for everybody to get out of here. And of course, if I look back on life now and where I am now, and having made it through it, and getting to the point where I'm now, where I can sit here in front of you guys and say, hey, look, don't go down that track. I'm telling you now, you're much better off continuing with what you're doing, making some progress, one step at a time. Okay, so half a step forward and one step back. Who friggin' cares? Half a step forward is better than going no steps at all. So one thing at a time, little bit, little bit, little bit, until you get to the point where you can look at life and say, yeah, okay, I got through that crap. Okay, I'm not so bad after all. But stopping and giving up and committing suicide is not really helping anybody, any situation. No matter how much your mind is telling you that that's what to do, it's not. It just simply is not correct. And that's because of the whole lot of stuff that's been programmed into your head, belief structures that you've got, going way, way, way back to your ancestral times, where it says, if you can't provide for the tribe, if you're not good enough, if you're not a good enough hunter in the tribe, then you should get out of the way and let somebody else do it. Sorry guys, that's a part of your brain which you don't need to keep following anymore. And this is what we've discovered in the new science and the way that we can look at the brain and we can actually observe what's going on in there. And so you just got to believe me. You just got to make the changes and just go with the flow.